So hey, sister girl, how you
Hey,
doing? So
good.
today, we're gonna interview Rae Lyse. Hey Ray. So we want to get started talking about her as an author. You've been in the game 2 years. 2 years.
Really? It goes by fast. It went by fast.
Did you think that when you started out with Saving Sunflower that you would have a following like how you do now?
No, because when I published it, I honestly didn't think anybody would read it. Because so many
Really?
people, yeah. I mean, think about how many people publish books every day. It's a lot.
Wow, I didn't expect that answer.
Yeah, so I was like, let me get it out of my system. Let me publish it, and then I'll see where it goes. Like, I would be happy if I get two people to read it. That was my thinking process. Yeah,
Wow.
completely unexpected. Yeah,
So after everybody got attached to Dominic, you decided to let us meet his cousin Josiah, who was
yeah.
my book bait for a while. You already
Keyword for a while.
for a while. He was my book bait, for a while. And
Yeah.
it's like we went from loving Dominic to
Hmm.
loving Josiah. Then we meet Desmond, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, another book bait. And then we have my favorite, who's Andre.
Yeah.
So Andre was one of those people where I think I was just the resilience he had, the maturity he had, the sacrifices he made as a 16-year-old. That
Hmm.
was, you know, we hear about it, but we don't really read about it. So it's
Yeah.
like when you made these characters, you brung us into the living room where we usually see these stories on the news.
Hmm.
You took us into the living room of their parents. You let us know, you know, how they lived, where they lived, what was, because usually when you see gangs, they die in the life. They don't usually make it that far. But you showed us growth, how you can start out young, be in a gang and grow to be a professional athlete. You can grow to have, your side businesses. And that's exactly what you did with that. So after, we fell in love with Dre, which was the final book in the Sun series, you brung us and you introduced us to Ace.
Yeah.
And Ace was one of those characters where you're like, you see, them soaking and falling into basically a pattern of destruction. And his pattern of destruction didn't involve uh robbing or anything else. It wasn't a gang life like what we read in the Sun series. So with
Hmm.
Ace, his downfall was losing his mother.
Hmm.
So losing his mother and her going through cancer treatments and everything, it was a slippery slope, and you saw him slowly slide into the bottom. And then
Right.
you're like, ah, I gotta, I want to catch him, but how do I? When someone is so deep into their own mind like that, it's like we want to save them, but we don't know how.
Hmm.
So then you put someone in his life by the name of Fats or Lourdes,
Hmm.
and you're like, okay, so maybe we can see him not hitting the bottom after all. Maybe it was a woman that needed to calm him down since he lost his mom.
Hmm.
So when you were doing this book, where did Ace come from? Was he an inspiration, or was he just someone like, I need to write about an athlete? And you went from there. What was the inspiration for that?
Um, so the way like ideas form, I don't like set out saying, "Oh, I want to like write, about this. I want to do this trope or this or that." It just kind of comes to me.
Mm.
So with his story, it came to me, and one thing I always tell people, I love sports romances, even though they're really, really hard for me to write because I don't have like a real high like sports IQ.
Mm.
So that's what takes me a long time whenever I'm writing sports romances. Like even when I wrote the end game, I'm not a big football person. So like just fact checking myself, like going back, getting the little intricacies. So with that, I love sports romances. So I was like, this idea is coming to me. It's gonna be a sports romance, and I was like, okay, I gotta get ready. I gotta buckle up because this is gonna be a ride. And then another thing too is I'm not a plotter, so I need to become a plotter. It
Mm.
would help me out a lot, but I'm not a plotter. So a lot of stuff is just me like free writing. Like I'll have like a general idea of where I kind of want the story to go. But like the middle part is me kind of like just playing with it and see, where the character takes me. So it was a lot of that. And I feel like that's the way I work with kind of every story so far. I'm working on becoming a plotter. I think that would help me a lot. So I always try to, work on ways to improve or, write more efficiently. But yeah, I think not plotting is the fun part in writing, of course, but I need to do
Yeah.
just a little plotting.
Yeah. So in this story,
Hmm.
we saw the slippery slope with his mom, and that's
Yeah.
one thing to deal with. But the biggest issue to me was him being falsely accused of sexual assault.
Yeah.
And as we read about it, and we find out what he was accused of, it, and we meet the guy, Ace.
Yeah.
Nobody believes that. I don't think
Yeah.
none of us wanted to believe he can do something like that. So
Right.
as we're reading and we're getting to know Ace, you like, should we fall in love with him or is should we
Yeah.
side eye him? And that was something that I think we went through for a couple of chapters, but then when we finally got to know Ace, we're like, there's no way possible he did this. So when we get to that part when it's exposed that he didn't do it, we're like, and I think all the gloves came on and we were
Yeah.
ready to fight for Ace.
Y'all were like,
All
lock her up, lock her up.
we I am still mad at her. Okay? I am still mad at her because the thing is, it's one thing to accuse someone of sexual assault. It's another thing to accuse them of sexual assault because the guy you were with was asking you why you were caught leaving his room. And instead of you
Yeah.
telling the truth, you threw him under the bus. And then days later decided to go and file a police report because he wouldn't stop asking you about it. I, and it's no one to the side of me. This is me clutching my pearls. It's like, and I think we understand there are women who are raped. But
Yes.
when you have instances like this, it's like it makes it harder for the
Hmm.
true stories to shine through.
Yeah.
And another thing I did notice with the book was that his father,
Hmm.
if his father had just taken the time to look more into the case instead of paying her off,
Hmm.
he would have realized that, like we thought, his son was incapable of
Hmm.
doing it. And I think that bothered me the most.
Really?
Yeah. When your parents don't believe you, well, I'm not
I
gonna
was
say
just about to
parent.
say, was it because he was the parent? That's why
It
it
was
bothered
the
you? Yeah.
it's when the parent like those you usually like my son would never do this. I don't
Hmm.
think his father trusted him enough to believe he didn't do it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And also, I guess it's the fact that Ace is an unreliable narrator throughout the book because you find out another one of his secrets, essentially he's an alcoholic. So that I guess that gives his dad more ammo to
Mm.
question, whether it happened or not. And so, you know, the unreliable person that you have here, you don't know if he was drunk or whether it happened or not. And I think at times Ace questioned himself too. He had lost that trust in himself because he
Oh,
was that far gone, grieving and trying to handle stardom and stuff like that. So
and the thing is, I don't think we understand dealing with stardom is a
yeah, to that extent, yeah.
where you're the hometown hero. I mean, he was raised in LA. He went to play for
Hmm.
you know, your hometown colleges.
Yeah,
That's a lot of pressure.
yeah, it
That's a
is.
lot
It's a
of
lot
pressure.
of pressure.
And it's like his mom say, it bring the cleat chasers, it bring the groupies, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I think I think him being a friend was, I'm not gonna say his downfall, but befriending someone who you knew was only using you for an opportunity to get,
Hmm.
a step closer to their dreams. I think that hurts the most.
Yeah, that betrayal. I can agree with that.
Because
Definitely that
it was a
betrayal.
betrayal.
Hmm.
It was a betrayal. And taking a deep breath.
Take as many
Because
as you need.
be and it's like, let's talk about Fats. So Fats, freshman, her best friend is exactly what she wanted to be, best friend in the
Hmm.
corner. And it what we see with her taking this journey with Ace, like he's treating her as a young woman. Like he's doing things that once you get a certain age, this the men in your life do for you. The getting your nails done, making
Hmm.
sure your hair is fine, making sure you ate, things like that. Where her best friend was stuck on, okay, I made you mad, let me bring you an icy. Like
Hmm.
his maturity level was not on the same level as Ace's, and
Hmm.
him holding on to their 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 childhood friendship and thinking that outweighed everything. I think that was
Hmm.
an arrogance we all hated.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that's the only thing you have. She my friend. I know her for a long. Okay, what else? What else?
Give me something else.
Give me
Yeah.
something. Because if he
He was
said
stuck
that
on
one,
that loyalty.
he was really stuck on that. And I think that him the him having his teammates believe that they were sexually involved,
Hmm.
that was it was like, why would you do that to her? Like, I didn't it wasn't necessary.
Hmm.
You you know, it's
Hmm.
like we see things that aren't necessary, and we're reading and we're trying to get to like you, because when I first started reading the book, I didn't like you. As the book went on, I still didn't like you. And when I finished the book, I you know, you got a little better, but I still didn't
He still
like.
didn't like
I He was one of
it.
those characters to where if I didn't read about him again, I wouldn't. You know,
It was immaturity, like you said, that immaturity and the arrogance too. I feel like at that age, and that was another challenge to writing that book, just trying to pull from, I guess, the past, or trying to think of, okay, how was I at that age? Did I have that type of arrogance where I felt like, I was always right in situations even when I was wrong, or that selfishness and stuff like that. So trying to pull from that, and also just trying to understand locker room talk. There was a lot of locker room talk written into the book, so just trying to navigate that and understand how men or boys becoming men talk in the locker room, because I feel like that's a common theme in sports too, is locker room talk. So that's probably why he felt so comfortable telling that lie, just to get the, I don't even know how to explain it, but just to fit in, I guess you could say.
I get it.
Hmm.
Cause I get it, but I still don't like him.
I think he's probably up there with Autumn as far as like the most annoying characters I've probably written. Him and Autumn are like neck and
Yes.
neck.
Yes. I think the most annoying characters you ever wrote about came from, with the exception of Brandon, they came from this book. Um, from his daddy to yeah. I think by the time the book ended, I only liked two people. I only liked Fast and Ace.
Ace,
Like
Ace and Fat, that was
it,
it.
it was it was. I never. I'm not gonna say I never, but to meet so many selfish people in one book, I usually you go through a whole series and in one book everybody was selfish. But I loved how you wrote that because I think, and it gave everybody a voice. You know,
hmm
from and then seeing the college, the college life where we're literally, they're talking about pledging.
hmm
And then inside of pledging, it was something that you talked about that I never saw brought up in a book before. You talked about how much money it costs to pledge. A lot of
Yeah,
people aren't
a lot of
aware of
money.
that. So when you brought that up, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
this is real. Because when you're thinking about pledging, the first thing somebody says to you is that's a couple of $1,000
it
off that.
is.
And you talked about that. You talked about the school bookstore and things like it. It's like you brung us on the campus with it. At an HBCU, we know the facilities aren't that great.
hmm
The school isn't that big compared to
hmm
most public PWIs that have 70, 80,000 people going attending there. So
Yeah.
when I was reading and I saw you literally break down the differences and the campuses and how he went from UCLA to HBCU, and the facilities weren't that great. We didn't have the best locker room anymore. I didn't have the best weight room anymore. But it was like a family. We weren't, you know, multi-million dollar prospects. We weren't scouted like that, but to see them make it as far as they did because of teamwork, because they formed a brotherhood, I that was one of the parts I love. Because
Yeah.
when in a tournament, you are the small fishes can swim with the big fishes, but the fact that they came from this small gym that was nothing to brag about, and they were competing on a stage where he couldn't get to when he was starting. They didn't get that far.
hmm
So to see them get as far as they did under the HBCU, I love that you wrote that, because I went to
Thank you.
HBCU and we do
Oh,
matter. We
yeah,
matter. HBCUs do matter. We all
they
small,
absolutely do.
yeah,
Yes.
but we're family. So I yeah, that made my heart smile.
And I'm glad for that. That is definitely one of the things I wanted to highlight in the book because I myself, I didn't go to an HBCU, but I always said if I could go back and do it all over again, I would.
Mm-hmm.
Because having that experience at a PWI, it wasn't the same. And so that was one of the things, you have that community at a PWI, but it's not the same as an HBCU where everybody looks like you. At a
Yes.
PWI, it's more so like siloed, like all the black people do all black stuff together. We all go to the same parties. Everything is like
You have a
feel like
black student union.
yes, black student union. We all hang out in groups on the yard together. Everybody knows everybody. Pledging is like the super 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 big deal compared to if you were to do it in HBCU. I feel like because at a PWI our population is smaller.
Yes.
Everybody's like whispering about, okay, who's going to this or who's doing this, so you got the money to do this and yada yada. So it's different, but I definitely wanted to highlight that. And one of the things I love about Ace's character was his humility throughout the book. Like it didn't matter to him that the facility was what it was. Like that
Yes.
didn't bother him at all. His whole thing was I still love it here. I get to play on this court that my dad's best friend played on that he keeps talking about. Like I'm finally here. I can experience it. It is what it is. I'm gonna make the best of it. The team is not that great, but I'm here. I can still play ball because they at a certain point he wasn't supposed to play basketball anymore. So his
Mm-hmm.
dad has literally pulled these strings to get him back into basketball. So I definitely love the humility of his character. That was one of my favorite things about Ace.
And how did you feel about? And I love how you took us to Twitter, because I went on
Yes, I had to.
because
I had
let me tell
to.
you something. I go on Twitter to be nosy. That's the only time I go on Twitter when they be like, "Girl, go check
When
out
there's
Twitter.
something going on.
Something going on." They be like, "Oh, they got the full video on Twitter," because Facebook and IG they don't let you post anything.
They don't. The
Twitter
Twitter,
Twitter
everything.
gonna have the fairy tale, the truth, and the lie. Okay, that's they
Yes.
gonna have all three of them back to back to back. So you get to pick which one you believe. But
Yeah.
I love that you took us to Twitter, because that's not talked about enough in books. I love the Twitter, them back and forth in the DMs.
Yes. The subtweeting, the
Yes,
DMs, the cancel culture on Twitter is
yes,
heavy. And so
yes.
I just felt like reading, I never see that in depth in romance books. Like it's mentioned like Twitter, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not like in depth where like you're reading about a character who has been canceled. Okay, nobody likes him anymore. So you get to experience it through his eyes and through Fat's eyes. Like, okay, they don't, you get to see it all play out. They don't like him anymore. You get to read
Mm-hmm.
all of the crazy tweets. Even now, if you go on Twitter, whatever's trending, and you click that trending topic and you read all everybody's opinion about, what's going on. So having to put myself in their shoes and think, okay, how would this play out in real life if this were to happen? What would people be saying on Twitter about it? That was the one of the most fun parts of writing the book too. Is coming up with the names and the messages on Twitter. What would they say?
And I love that, you had the people talking about, "Girl, he using you as a he only must like black girls." It was
Yes.
it, and it's like they be all up in your business like they know you. And I felt at home, because I be right under people. "Girl, don't let him do."
We all do it. We all do. We all get on there.
We get
We
in the
insert our
ad
opinion. We lurk. We don't even know these people in real
at
life. But
all. We
yet,
know
if
half
the
the
shade
story.
half the story, but if the shade room posts something today, tomorrow we're in the comments speculating, putting our 2 cents in, and it's like you don't even know half the story. So writing it from all those lenses, that was fun. That was a lot of fun because we do it.
We sure do. When I was reading the replies to her, I say, "Now, Fats, why you ain't blocked them? Why you
Right.
ain't blocked them? Because they really in your business, Fats."
Yes. And that was another thing I was trying to think about too. I'm like, okay, as a person who's now been thrust into the spotlight, like, how would you navigate this? Because we all have this in our heads, this obsession, this morbid obsession. Okay, what are people saying about me? Like, what are they thinking about me? So it's like, she's going to keep reading. She's going to keep reading because you're curious. You want to
Yeah,
see,
I
what are
want
they
to know
saying?
what
What are they
people.
thinking? And Ace the whole time is telling her, log off, delete it, get off.
He like been there, done that. Log
Yes,
off.
get off.
Yes, and then, oh my God, he he had drinks, and let's talk his alcohol abuse, because
Yeah,
it wasn't use, it was abuse.
abuse. Yes.
His alcohol abuse, it was sad to watch. Like, he drunk for breakfast, he drunk for lunch, he was on the court drunk. That's how he functioned. He had to go into his head, to get everything out, and he did that by drinking. And it's, how do I put this? You don't want to see it, because you know how that story ends. You
Yeah.
know what drinking does to an athlete. You know what, those who have problems with alcohol abuse, how their story ends if they don't get help.
Right.
So I think we got to watch and experience his turmoil. All of us have front row seats to it. We saw the grief, we saw the
Mm-hmm.
love, we saw the alcohol abuse, we saw the neglect from his only living parent. Then he
Mm-hmm.
was the only child. He had nobody. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we forget that, like, when you have siblings, you can go to them. He had
Right.
nobody he can go to about what was going on in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And to see him, gravitate towards Fats, And then the gem that you put in there, where their mothers had plotted on them being together. We got to see him spiraling in real time.
Hmm.
So we see, you know, him basically, like I said, being the only child. He didn't have it like we had it, where you can go to your siblings and talk about, you know, your mama did this today. Because me and my sisters and brother do it. You go, your mama, because they become your mama at that time.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what your mama did. And he had nobody, to have that personal relationship with, and to
Hmm.
see that his mom and Fat's mom, they actually plotted on them being together. Um,
Hmm.
he had a crush on a girl named Lourdes at his daycare. So Ace's mom convinced, Fat's mom to name her Lourdes because when they get older, they can be together. That's the Lourdes he could be with. And I like that, Jim, because it was like, oh, he get
Yeah,
to
I thought it
fulfill
was
one of his
heartwarming.
mama. He get to fulfill one of his mother's wishes,
Yeah.
and by doing that, I'm not saying it brought them closer to each other, but it was like a meant to be type of situation. Like the way they say two souls will find each other eventually if they follow the path that's meant for them, and
Hmm.
I really like that part because I'm still waiting on my soulmate. He coming,
He told me.
he coming. But I was so glad that they were able to be there for each other.
Hmm.
Um, when I'm not gonna say neither one of them had each other, but Fats had people in her corner, but they didn't
Hmm.
understand her the way Ace did.
Right. That's true.
So
Because Ace had been there, he had been through what she was going through and knew what she was experiencing. So she
mm-hmm.
had that support that she was lacking in him.
And then the experience with cancer, he knew to basically, um, you know, with the chemo and what makes them sick, what they can eat, what they cannot eat, how to lift them, things like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that gave him, I'm not going to say the upper hand, but he helped teach her some things that
Mm-hmm.
she didn't know. Because, baby, anybody that's ever dealt with someone with cancer knows it is hard, to
Mm-hmm.
all the things that they can and cannot eat, um all the things, the strength that they have. Sometimes they don't even feel strong enough to go take a bath,
Right.
and you bathe them,
Mm-hmm.
help them out, because I don't want to get into that. Okay, never mind. But he knew how to care for her mom.
Yes.
He gave her pointers because she didn't know. She was a 19-year-old child, she fresh in college. She had no idea. But
Right.
I do like that he was, her strength when she needed it. And in turn she was his. So again, I'm so glad they found each other. I'm so glad they found each other cuz I don't, and I say that I don't think they. I'm not gonna say I don't think they would have made it, but life would have been bumpier had they not crossed paths the way they did. What you
Mm-hmm.
think?
I agree. I think, yeah, they wouldn't have found each other. I mean, because I feel like with Ace and his alcoholism, Fat definitely. I won't say she nudged him to get help, but I think she was a big part of him recognizing, okay, I do have a problem. Because you see that in the end when he finally gets to AA and they have to stand up and introduce themselves, her telling him that it was okay that he was an alcoholic, like that was a big thing for him. Throughout the book, it was kind of like he was in denial because even whenever
Mm,
he meets with Blake Harvey, the sports agent, the crooked sports agent, um, that's another character we don't like either.
like I said, you had the most annoying.
Now, look, I
Okay.
put them all in one book. But one thing, you know what, Blake Harvey, I actually like. He annoys me, but I like writing about him for some reason. Like, I don't know, he really gets on my nerves. But I like writing about him because he's so crooked. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like Ace was kind of in denial whenever he, throughout the book, and especially whenever he met with Blake, and Blake was basically spelling it out for him. Like, I know what you are. Like, we all, everybody is whispering about it. Like, we all know, you know. But I think she definitely, you know, was a big part of that. And then him with her, like you were saying, like all the stuff that he taught her about caring for somebody that sick. She didn't have that around her. People were, they were busy in their own lives, doing their own thing, or like Marcus, her brother, was in denial. So it was nobody there to, you know,
Yes.
teach her these
Yeah.
things. Because in life, you know, when people get sick, most of the time everybody's life continues to go on besides the person that's there or the people that are there caring for that person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, extended family, they will offer that support, but their life continues to go on, you know. Or even you have close siblings, like you have one sibling that's the caretaker and then the rest of them, their life, guess what, it continues to go on, you know. Life
Mm-hmm.
doesn't stop just because, you know, that person got sick. So I definitely wanted to illustrate that too. What I realized, I guess, after publishing the book is that a lot of people, I guess, didn't have that experience of, you know, knowing what it's like to be in a home with somebody who's taking
Oh,
care of a sick person, you know,
oh,
and so just seeing people be shocked about that. And I'm like, you know, it's common. It happens every single day.
sure
You know,
does.
it happens
Um,
every day.
I had the, and that's why I didn't want to really, but I had the experience of doing it for my mother and my sister,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not easy.
No,
Um,
it's
and
not.
and as he's laying down the law to her, telling what they can and cannot use, I'm like, you're right, Ace. That's exactly it. Um, and then I know I said Ace didn't have anybody because he didn't have siblings. It seems like Creed tried to step into that role of being there for him, but I don't think Creed Creed didn't give what she was supposed to give. She did not, and I mean that in the most respectful way possible. I think Creed should have been a bigger liaison for him. Like
Mm-hmm.
she was supposed to grab her brother by his shoulders and say, "There is no way you
Mm-hmm.
believe this." And as she's telling Fast, "Oh, not all sexual assault victims," and Fast is like, "Girl, cut the bull." Cut the bull. I do not want to hear this. You know this boy didn't rape Cheyenne.
Yeah.
You know he didn't. And then, Fats has her call. They call on speaker. And the way Cheyenne blurts out that nothing happened and starts counting off how he's a nobody now and that his girlfriend needs lipo. And you like, you ruined his life and you worried about his girlfriend needing lipo. Like, whoo, audacity is on clearance. Let me tell you something. Audacity is on clearance, and not only is on clearance, it's buy one get five free. Because I could not believe you literally tried to ruin his life because your feelings was hurt that he rejected you. So
Mm-hmm.
your only claim to fame was staying with his best friend. And to do that, you had to sell a lie of being
Mm-hmm.
sexually assaulted. And what's crazy is I don't think she had to do that, but don't tell nobody. I think that he would have been with her,
Mm-hmm.
even if she said, "Yeah, I was chasing Ace, but he's not in there."
Mm-hmm.
That's what. Don't tell nobody. But his best friend was trash too.
I agree. I
I
agree. And
just,
thinking back, I mean, was Javi even really his best friend?
you
What
know,
do you think? I don't know. Was he?
that was his right hand man. They used to be together a lot. He was at his party.
I feel like he was a friend of convenience, though. Like,
Yes, yes. Now that I agree with.
I
He,
imagine that a lot of famous people have friends of convenience. Like, it's kind of like this person got stuck in your orbit and you have basketball in common. So it's like, you know, I can party with him, I can do drugs, I can drink with him, but I don't think he really trusted Javi all that much. I don't know. I don't know.
And that's what with Javi, I'm like, you know, Ace didn't touch that girl, and it took to baby, and the fact that he stood by her
Mhm.
even after he. And that's what we just, I want to discuss because I sometimes like to do the what ifs at
Yeah.
the end. What if? So I wanted Cheyenne in prison. I don't think her paying back that money was enough punishment.
You.
I wanted her in jail. I honestly, wouldn't mind updates, of her, being
Locked
up,
up.
you know, her being locked up, her maybe becoming an alcoholic because of her, and everything she put Ace through is now her reality. Like you
Yep.
wake up drunk, you go to sleep drunk.
Yep.
I and I and that's where we get into the suffering. I want Cheyenne to suffer, but I want Hob to suffer too, because I feel like he knew that Ace didn't do that. But because when Ace was demoted and Ace was pushed to the side and he was blackballed, you were able to flourish. And I
Mhm.
think he took that to, you know, not going to say the extreme, but he used that to his advantage. If
Mhm.
Ace isn't in the picture, I can be the superstar I think I am. That I
Mhm.
wouldn't have been able to be with him, in the picture. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have was the one who actually convinced her to
Nah,
go
nah,
to
that
the
would be
police
messed up.
department.
That
I
would be
I
real
would,
messed up.
because you sometimes you have to get rid of what's in your way, and I really felt that Ace was in his way of
Yeah.
of being what. But that's a what if. You know
Yeah.
that's my what if for today. But this book, the way it was wrote, how it flowed so beautiful. It's like we literally went through trials and tribulations with all the characters, and oh my god, I think Josiah Bay. I don't think Then I met Dre, and I'm like, but I really like Dre, you know. And then I went to the extreme, we
You
let's put it
did.
on there,
You
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 know.
can't leave Dre if you got that now. You can't leave if you got that.
So, the Sun series, trying to focus the camera on it. I am a big fan, the Sun series.
Yeah.
This is the Sun, you know. I have my pink Starburst because I'm gang. So it's like you took us in through the Sun series. You had us with these men that we just love. And then you introduce us to a whole team of men in Ace's story. Do you think you'll write about the characters that were on the basketball team? Can you see yourself doing a spin-off to where you making it a series like you did the Sun series, or is that it?
I'll never say never.
Mm.
'Cause I can't say that because ideas just pop up in my head. I can say as of now, none of the characters from the basketball team have spoken to me. So as of
Oh,
now, no. But that's why I like writing standalone. Like it exists in a series, but it's a standalone. Like each book is
yeah,
about
you can remember. Yeah.
couples. Yeah, just because I know how I am. I'm real moody. So like I like to give readers like a complete book right then and there. I don't like to do cliffhangers or leave stuff lingering just
Mm.
in case. Just in case anything happens, like with me in my personal life, I don't want to leave people hanging, wondering what if, or what happened with this. So I always do a complete story in one book. But as of now, at the end of it all, is a standalone currently. I'll never say never though,
Currently.
because I change my
Oh,
mind all
you
the time, every single day.
what else did we? Oh, you know what else?
What?
Noonie.
Oh Lord.
So, if you guys haven't read the Sun series, Noonie is a character in the Sun series, and I was just thinking, he's the only one that I felt needed someone to calm him that hasn't got it. So it was so funny when I was reading 30 and Tasha's like, they were talking about a car that I'm sure Noonie stole. And it's like that line stuck with me for I love him because it's like he was just wild and free. He
Yeah,
had no kids, he had no woman to tend to. He was literally just living his life. And it's like I would love to see him show up in other books. We had Dominic show up in at the end of it all.
yeah.
We had you, aka Doe. So we read about Doe, and he showed up in this series, and I want to read about Noonie so bad. And y'all, I have asked Rae, can we have Noonie? And
She
she is
has.
just Rae is just like Maisha. No, he listen. Whatever you have in your head that you want, that's what happened. I'm not touching Noonie. But I just feel it's such a disservice to leave him out there.
Leave them hanging.
Yes. So unlike at the end of it all, with the Sun series,
Yeah. Hmm.
there were characters that I read about, and I felt the only character I didn't like was Brandon.
Oh,
Brandon,
Frank is the end game. Yeah.
yes, and he was in 32.
He was. He was. He was a
Dre had to pull up on him to let him know. You know, I think that's the with the Sun series, and it just shows your writing, because if you can hate a character, that means you did your job as an author. So it's like in the Sun series, I just want everybody to have a happily ever after.
Yeah, I feel like in
Everybody,
that series, everybody
from
definitely deserves.
Dorothea to
Yeah.
to to Diane to Noonie, I want a happy ending for. At the end of it all, the only two people I want with a happy ending are Ace and Fast. Everybody else,
And
like,
Cece, don't forget about Cece. Her mama, she deserved her happy ending too.
yes, she do.
She was
She
innocent. She was
she
innocent.
do. Not to be confused with Cree, because Cree,
Yeah.
I understand she was there, but I don't feel if she was there. She lost so many cool points with me by being, and that's another thing I wanted to. I'm glad I just brought that up. Being silent when you know the truth. She was silent
She was. So with Creed,
when he
she's another
needed
person
her.
I'm on the fence about. I'm on the fence about her like I'm on the fence about Pops. Just because with Creed, I could see the position that she was in. I mean, you have your brother, you close to your brother. Your brother is dating this person. You know he's in love or supposedly in love. And this happens and it's kind of like, do you want to go there? Do you want to question it? Like, do you want to bring about all of that, all the drama, the fallout that could potentially happen? So I could see how she could possibly be in the middle. I I feel like at times she was an okay friend to Ace, but then there were
That's
other
all.
times I feel like
Okay.
an okay friend. So I don't even know if I would consider her a best friend to Ace either. And I feel like even in the book, he didn't really even like label. He didn't label anybody as a best
He
friend.
didn't. And
He,
I think it's because, like I said, he had nobody.
he really didn't. And I think he knew he had nobody too. He
and
knew.
and the fact that Cree knew, and this is the thing, because you have a scene in there where she's frantically calling him on his mother's birthday, and it's because you know how he is. On that day he's very sad. When Fast walked into the apartment, he was on the porch or on the balcony drinking, crying.
Mm-hmm.
That broke me so bad. But you, Cree, you knew Ace couldn't harm a fly. You knew the type of person he was, and you sat on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
It was so much you could have done as a friend. That call at the end did not redeem you, Cree. It
It
did not redeem you. Like
wasn't
if
even
her,
her idea.
it did. I'm serious. It didn't redeem her, and the fact that not only okay, so the fact that to me it didn't redeem her, and then you're actually upset and emotional about it. You knew. That's what bothered me. Like, it's like you're emotional because, is it because you didn't know if Ace was innocent,
Hmm.
or that you're hurt that Cheyenne, you know, did what she did? So are you more hurt that you have to see this woman every day because she's your sister-in-law, or that she hurt Ace? And it's like when I couldn't decipher what you were upset and emotional about, that's when
Mhm.
I felt you don't deserve a happy ending. Because I had no idea what she was upset about. I didn't know if she was upset about losing a sister or if she was upset that
Oh,
Ace
man.
went through all this. And what was she? Can you tell me what she was mad about?
That is hilarious. Oh man, I that's a good point. You got me there. That's a good point.
Yeah, I didn't know. And I'm like, I'm thinking in my head, what you crying for? What you mad about? You and your sister-in-law can still go. Y'all can still, you can still go to your boutique and shop there. And woo,
The,
that scene
you
right
make
there had me pissed. And
you make a good point.
I wanted Fast to just take the phone and slap her with it, knock some sense into her, do something. Woo,
Oh,
child.
man. You make a good point. That's
Woo,
funny.
child. Hmm. But back to you as an author. Can you give us a preview of what you have coming? Have you decided what you have coming up?
I have decided I'm working on it, but you know how I am. I hate sharing stuff before. Like if I'm too early on in the process, I hate sharing stuff. Only
She really
because
does.
yes, only just because I don't know. I'm real protective about the stuff that I work on, like while it's in progress, just because I know whenever I release it, like it's not mine anymore. Like it's for everybody to read, dissect, rate, review, discuss. But when I'm working on something, like it's just mine, and I love that time that I spend with my work alone, with nobody else's output or opinions. Because one thing I've realized about publishing is that once you publish, you start gaining readers, people that are interested in your work. It's very easy for people to, like, I guess, insert like their opinion, like
Mhm.
you should do this, or you should write about this, or
Yes.
you should do this storyline, or this is how you should do this. And so you have to work, I guess, really hard to protect your artistry and like your creativity, because
Yes.
it's so easy to take on other people's opinions and start thinking like, okay, well maybe I should change it up, or maybe I should do
Uh-huh.
this. That's why I'm just so protective over like my creativity and the time that I spend with my projects alone, because that's the time like where it's nobody else's opinion, it's just my opinion.
Yes.
What do I think works, or what do I think should happen next? It's me and those characters alone. So that's the only reason I'm so protective. But the further along I get, I guess the more like I try to share. But yeah.
I wouldn't want you to. Yeah. Just keep it. Just keep it.
Yeah.
So, I've been a test reader of yours since Bunny. Bunny was the first book I test read. Um, and like we developed a relationship to where, I even have your number. I text you checking
Yes.
on your characters.
Yes.
Um,
And I love it too.
so with that, I know your thought process. You really don't share anything. And with me, I've been, 3 books now. I'm even kept from the storyline, y'all. So it's not like she's calling me and say, Maisha, I'm about to write about a basketball player. I do not know until she literally sends me the book what it's about. And it was crazy because when I was test reading 30, it, like, when I found out it was Tosh, I'm like, oh, it's Tosh from like, I was so excited. And she didn't give me any hints to who the girl was or anything. I found out when I was test reading, and I love the surprise that, one
Yeah,
thing
isn't that
about
fun
Ray,
though?
she
Like,
doesn't tell you anything. She gives you no heads up, anything. And I think that's why I get so excited when I'm reading. Like, I don't know who's next. I didn't
yeah,
know Dre was next. She didn't share that Dre was next. But when I found out, I did a cartwheel, and y'all, I can't cartwheel. I just want to let y'all know, I cannot cartwheel. I was so happy that Dre was getting his book, but when I found out his love interest would be Tosh, I'm like, and it's like you gave us a little bit of her in 30, but it was enough to where, oh, I remember her. Oh, this gonna be good, And I
yeah,
like that. I like that you didn't give Tasha a big storyline. She was Jay's girl. She was there for Jade, but you didn't expect her to get her own book. well, it's majority Dre, but that's their book,
Yeah.
together. You read about her backstory, you read about his story, and baby, when their stories combine, it was a great. That was my favorite one.
Honestly, yeah, that's my favorite. Out of everything that I've written, 30 is like my absolute
That was my
favorite.
favorite.
Yes.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
let's go a little backwards. I
what.
know we talked about Ace, but let's go a little backwards. So Josiah was I'm sorry, Dre was Josiah's best friend. They
Yeah.
grew up, they were gang. They robbing, they stealing, they did, they had they fights, with the neighborhoods adjacent to them. And Dre, they witnessed, well, they were there. The bullet was for Josiah,
Hmm.
or it was for somebody there at the party, and his girlfriend ended up getting shot and killed. And she dies in his arms.
Yes.
So one thing we learned about Josiah is that he's a hothead. He doesn't know how to let stuff die. You know,
Mm.
he literally, wants blood right then and there,
Yes.
and he ends up killing, the guy who killed his girlfriend.
Hmm.
Dre, being the person he is, he knew Josiah had a future, so he took the charge for him. And Dre spent several years in prison. It was to the point where when he was on the phone with him in the end game, I was like, Dre need to get out. Like, he don't deserve this. Like, I was so sad to read that he had to talk to his friend in prison, and his friend was in prison because of him. That
Hmm.
had to be tough on Josiah. So when Dre got out and Josiah was a host to him, you know, he let him stay with him. He, was willing to let him work for him, but Dre didn't want that job. Dre to me was, I'm not gonna say the most mature one, but he was the most mature. He saw things in the future,
Yeah.
whereas Josiah was right there in the moment. Dre planned for the future.
Yeah. Definitely.
Dre's goal was to get his family out of poverty. That was his goal, and he saw that with Josiah staying free and chasing his dreams of making it to the NFL.
Yeah.
And it was a gamble that Dre took, and it paid off. Not only did Josiah make it to the big league, Dre was also he also got to experience his journey through the NFL because he was released. You
Yeah.
know, and baby, you wrote the hell out of that story.
Thank you.
I probably read that book. After I read it again. And then, Alexa can read to you. While I'm at work, Alexa read that. I was head
Love
over heels. I love Josiah,
that.
but
Yeah.
meeting Dre was life changing. I was head over heels for Dre, and it had more to do with the sacrifices he made for family.
Yes.
I That was something I loved about him, and I wish that more people would read his story so you can see he made the biggest sacrifice for his family. And I remember Tosh had asked him who's the leader, and he said the one who makes the ultimate sacrifice. And when he said that, I'm like, that's my man. That is my man. Cause I and then it's like after he got out of prison, him facing it, him, you know, thinking he's not ready to be released. I mean, he was released still thinking maybe I'm better off in jail.
Yeah.
That story was from top to bottom the most thorough. That was my most loved book out of, you know, literally my top 5 out of books I ever read, because you were so on the mark on that book. I love that book. I
Thank
Every day when people be asking for recommendations, I'll be like, y'all read the Sun series, but don't get it twisted. Dre is my man. I have to remind them. They get a little, they get a little, something go, that man be talking in their head and they think that, no, that's mine. That is mine.
That's Maisha's man. That is her
That
man.
is my man.
That is her man. Now
That
that's
do not get it twisted.
my
So
ultimate favorite book. I love it. Love it.
that
Love
is my favorite book, and I don't and I can't pinpoint the thing I love because I love everything about it.
it.
I
Same.
love
Yeah.
everything about it. It's
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 multiple
no
things. All of it is just it's great. And also like anybody that's into audiobooks, like the audiobook is amazing too.
yes.
Even
I
the way like Winston James and Phoenix McKay, the way that they conveyed the characters, it was like perfection. I was like,
I
dang,
have I have it on audio too.
yes, it's good. It's excellent. Yes.
I have it on paperback. I have it on audio, and I have it
In
on video.
all formats, it's a good book. I can definitely say
If
that.
you're into audiobooks, you guys listen to the end game. And the thing is how Rae she spoke about it, how she writes her series. You can actually read those books individually and not be lost in the story. It's
Yeah,
best to read them in order so you know who the characters are, but you can also read if you just want to read 30 and then go back, you can do that
and won't you won't
because
be lost. I try to tell people that all the time. I'm like, if you're especially if you're a moody reader, like you could say, okay, I'm in the mood for a sports romance. Okay, you can go read the end game and you won't be lost at
yeah.
all.
Mhm.
At all. If you're in the mood for something different, then you can go read 30 just because it encompasses a lot. Talks about a lot, criminal justice reform,
Yes.
recidivism. It's a LGBTQ plus book. It talks about a whole lot.
And I don't want to I don't want to tell you guys the end,
Mhm.
but the end was shocked me. And I usually can see things, as
Yeah,
I'm.
you're good at catching like foreshadowing and stuff. And
I did not catch that. If you read it, you know what I'm talking about. I did not understand. Okay, that was something. Oh my gosh, and I'm not gonna say I was upset about. I was shocked, but again, Dre's maturity, how he handled that was different. It was something I wouldn't expect from somebody as young as him. Um, I loved it, but again, 30 was my favorite. It's literally top 5 all time books I've read, and that says a lot. I read a lot of books. That's one of my favorites ever. So if you guys, you want to read something different because it's different. You want to read something different that's not too heavy. You have a little comedy in there because Noonie is a fool. Um, I'm telling you, read it. It's not too heavy to where you're going to be crying.
yeah,
It's not too light to where you say, "Oh, it's too much. It's too girly." It's literally the right ingredients. She baked the cake, and it's one of them cakes that you probably get once in a lifetime. That she made them cakes where you taste it, and the second time you taste it, you like, oh, this even better. That's what she did. So it's like she started baking cakes, and now she's at the big cake. She started the pound cakes. So
I
now
like
she's at the 5 tier cakes with the decorations and the fondant. That's what she's at now.
I like that.
Your growth is shows with every book, and
Thank
you
you.
know we see and we hear about it all the time, where these where young men grow up, and I love that you let them grow up. You didn't take them out of their element. You let them grow up, and I love it. They were still able to stay true to themselves while doing it, and
Yeah.
I just love that about all your books.
Thank you.
Um so with that being said, that's the end of our discussion. I enjoyed this so much.
I did too. Thank y'all for having me. This was amazing. I loved
Thank
it.
you,
Loved
thank
it.
you, thank you. Is there anything you want to say to the readers?
Oh yeah, thank y'all for everything. What did you say? It's been 2 years since I started publishing. 2 years.
Oh,
This is like
was it 21 or 20?
it was either 2020 or 2021. I'm bad at dates. Sorry, that's my dog.
Mhm.
But thank y'all so much. I mean, I like I told you, I wasn't expecting any of this. Like I expected a maximum 2 people to read. And I was like, well, in the meantime, I'll keep writing, but I wasn't expecting that at all. So thank y'all for everything. And then look out for at the end of it all, it's going to be on audiobook.
Oh,
So,
okay, I'm looking forward to that.
yeah.
That book right there was, whew,
Yeah, and the audio sounds so good. They did an amazing, amazing job. So
Yes. Well, I'm so glad we were able to chat today. So
yeah.
you guys, the sun, what is the sunroom on Facebook is
Yes,
closed.
it's closed right now.
It's
Whenever I
closed,
release something new, I open it back up for people to join. But in the
mhm.
meantime, it's closed.
And you can catch me in there too, because I'm an admin.
Yeah.
So I'll probably when we open it up, you guys will be the first to know. But again, you'll be at Behind the Pen
Yes,
for Sister Girl Book Club,
I
and we
will.
look forward to seeing you. We look forward to you selling out again.
Yeah, I'm
And
so
I
excited.
listen. This your first time there?
Yes, at Behind the Pen, this will be my very, very first time. So it's going to be a really cool experience. I'm super excited.
Me too.
Definitely ready to meet everybody.
Me too. So I'll see you there.
Yay!
All right. Well, that's it, Rae Lyse. Thank you for joining us at Sister Girl Book Club. And
Thank
we
you.
look forward to seeing you at Behind the Pen.
Yes, thank y'all.
Good night.